Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on developing sustainable healthy habits. This is one of those New Year's resolutions that are at the top of the list year over year. And I'm not a fan or a believer in resolutions, but being that they are so common this time of the year, I wanted to discuss how we can turn these into reality. So let's get started. So why are goals not achievable? That is the age-old question. Why do some people always slay their goals and others do not? Good question. Well, let's talk about that. There are multiple reasons why we can struggle to achieve our goals. First and foremost, it's a fear of success or failure, which we never want to admit that we are fearful that we won't be successful or that we are fearful that we're going to fail. But this is really one of the top reasons. And interestingly enough, it manifests in procrastination. Procrastination, we often think of as something that we do because we're lazy. No, it's because we are trying to avoid something that is uncomfortable. And clearly, fear is very uncomfortable. Lack of commitment due to goals not being motivating. Your goals and your healthy habits have to be motivating. If they're not motivating, they are not sustainable. Lack of a clear plan. Goals have to be specific. You have to be able to visualize that you can succeed and have a clear path on how to get there. We like instant gratification. We are an instant gratification society. So we can get very impatient when we are not seeing those results quickly enough. One thing that comes to mind is activity. Oftentimes we start the new year saying, oh, I'm going to the gym every single day for an hour because I know that I need to be active and then I'll lose weight, expecting that we will lose weight immediately. Well, that's not going to happen. It took us oftentimes years to put on all the weight, and it's not going to come off in 5 minutes. So to use weight loss as a motivator for activity, probably you will not be successful because you don't have that instantly gratifying component. When challenges arise, it is very easy to quit. As humans, we don't like friction. We don't like things that are difficult. So when things become difficult, it's easy to just avoid the problem. And for some of you, it might be a restless feeling that you have. You start the new year, it's a new year, a new leaf, everything just looks bright and shiny and wonderful. And you get in 2 to 3 weeks and it's not so shiny and wonderful anymore. And you get bored. So you jump to the next thing. That's, oh, here's the next greatest way that you can achieve your goals or lose weight or what have you. And you don't stick with it. I love this quote from Tony Robbins. People are not lazy. They're not. They simply have impotent goals. That is, goals that do not inspire them. So if your goals do not inspire you, you must take action if you want to achieve them. Now, I'm sure you've all heard of SMART goals. SMART goals are not a new concept. However, I did a little twist on them and I combine them with the STAR goal principle. So my acronym for SMART goals stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. So as I mentioned before, if you really want to achieve a goal, you have to have that visual. You have to believe that it's possible, and you have to have a clean pathway to get there. And that's where the specific component comes in. It has to be measurable. If you can't measure it, you have no idea how you're progressing. it also has to be achievable. Now, we want our goals to be something that we strive for, but if they're not achievable, we're going to lose momentum and we won't be successful. So you have to make them achievable and they have to be relevant. What relevant is, it's something that you want to do versus something that you feel that you should do. So what comes to mind here is that gym membership that you might have had for years and you're paying every month, and maybe it's not a small fortune, but it's a sizable payment, but you don't want to quit because then you think all hope is lost and you'll never be healthy. So you keep it. And one of your goals is, okay, I'm going to work out at the gym 5 days a week, first thing in the morning, blah, blah, blah. Well, you don't like going to the gym and you only signed up for it because the salesperson on the gym tour gave you a really good deal and they just want to keep you as a customer. So you keep paying for it, but you don't like going to the gym. That is not a relevant goal because you won't sustain it. You might sustain it for a couple of weeks and then you're going to quit. And lastly, your goal has to be time bound because you have to know when it's going to end so that you can keep yourself motivated. Good intentions alone will not produce results. A sound plan and specific action must follow intention. So this is really wishful thinking, is if we just have good intentions. It's wishful thinking. Wishful thinking does not get us results. You have to back it up by a plan with consistent action. And that's where goal setting comes into play, followed by habit formation. So let's give some examples of SMART goals. So the first one, let's assume that you enjoy going to the gym, okay? And you want to be specific. So you're going to work out Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 6 to 7. You'll spend 15 minutes strength training, 30 minutes riding the recumbent bike. That's pretty darn specific. Is it measurable? Yes, you either go or you don't. Is it achievable? Well, let's assume it is achievable. I don't think it's unrealistic if you haven't been going to the gym at all. Starting with 3 days could be achievable for you. Relevant. Again, this goes into the fact that you enjoy going to the gym. So for purposes of this goal, let's assume that you enjoy going to the gym. And T, it's time bound, right? 6 to 7 a.m. So that's pretty SMART specific. Now the second one, let's assume your goal is to drink more water. Okay, so this goal is almost really a habit to that. So in order to do this, you're going to put an 8-ounce glass of water or a bottle of water next to your coffee pot every morning to remind you to drink your water. Now, why this goal can be particularly effective is you're attaching it to something that you're already doing, such as drinking your coffee. And if you're like me, you love coffee and you need it first thing in the morning. So it will remind you to drink the water because the bottle is going to be there, and your reward for doing it, that motivating component that I was telling you about, is your cup of coffee. So that's why that can work. So what are habits and why are they different from goals? Well, habits are actually those action steps for goal achievement and maintenance. So you have your long-term goals, which are a year or more out. And then your short-term goals can be anywhere from daily to weekly to monthly to quarterly, but those are the smaller goals that help you get to your larger goal. And the action steps are those habits that you form that help you achieve your goals. So for example, if your goal is weight loss, and let's say by the end of the year, you want to lose 50 pounds. Okay, so maybe smaller goals would be, okay, I'm going to focus on losing 4 to 5 pounds a month. That's an average of a pound a week. And by doing this, my habits that I want to form are going for a walk, and drinking water and healthy eating. Again, more specific. So that's kind of how it breaks down. So how many days does it take to actually form a habit? You've probably heard a million different ways. And really the most common out there is it takes 21 days to form a habit. Well, that's not true. You're probably thinking, what? No, it's not. There's not enough substantiated evidence to support that it only takes 21 days to form a habit. You may have heard 3 months, you may have heard 3 weeks. Bottom line, everybody's different. So the answer here is everybody forms habits at their own rate. And let me give you an example. Imagine that you are a smoker or you know of somebody who is a smoker and you've been smoking for years. We probably would all agree that nicotine is one of the most habit-forming chemicals there is. So therefore, it's a difficult habit to break. Assume you wake up one morning and you're like, I'm done. I'm quitting. I'm no longer smoking. And you stop that habit cold turkey and you are successful. You hear people doing that all the time. I don't know how they do it. That's crazy, but they do manage. So that could be one scenario. Or you could be the person that it takes months, years to learn how to quit smoking. Or maybe you never really do quit smoking. You always go back to it when you're stressed. So that is an example of why everybody forms habits at a different rate. So here are the steps in the habit formation process. So there's the cue, which is the reminder or the trigger to do your behavior. So in the case of the water scenario, you wanted to drink more water. Your cue or your reminder is that bottle of water or that glass of water that's sitting next to your coffee pot. The behavior is to drink more water, and the reward is your cup of coffee. Now, if you have not read James Clear's book, Atomic Habits, I highly recommend it. It is a phenomenal read, very easy to read, and it's a great resource tool that you can refer to time and time again. It's been on the New York Times bestseller list for years, and it's so relevant really all year round, but especially at the beginning of the year when we're trying to formulate our habits. So here are some rules that James Clear believes are very important for habit formation. So the first one is to make that habit obvious with a visual cue, which in the example with the water, that's the actual water bottle that's there. You see it. It prompts you to action. You know, another cue could be a reminder on your phone, an alert on your phone. That can remind you to do certain behavior. Maybe so that you go to the gym, you have a packed gym bag at the end of your bed, and you take that with you as you leave the house. So those are just different visual cues. Your habit has to be attractive. Again, it has to be motivating. And if you hate drinking water because it's just meh, well, you need to make it a little more exciting. So maybe you put some fruit in it to give it a little bit of flavor. Whatever it might be. You got to make your habit easy. Again, it's small, realistic action steps with less friction. The more friction involved, the less likely you are to sustain it. So when you're building habits, it almost needs to be stupid simple. Like, well, that's ridiculous. Of course, I can do something for one day. Okay, but think about it. It's not so stupid because how do you feel when you achieve what you set out to do? Pretty amazing, right? But if you set a goal that maybe is not quite realistic, a little lofty, and you don't achieve it, how do you feel? Like a failure. And we do not want to feel like a failure. So in order to build traction and momentum for sustainability, make those habits like stupid simple. And they have to be satisfying. When you feel successful, you are more likely to stick with it. So really 3 and 4 kind of tie together. And once you've got it, rinse and repeat. Once you are doing that habit, just keep doing what you're doing, because why reinvent the wheel if it works? It is so important to be kind to yourself in the process. As humans, we tend to be our own worst critics. And when things get challenging, we always get down on ourselves. All that negative garbage that we say to ourselves, oh, I can never do this. I'll never be successful. I have no motivation. Who the heck am I kidding? Oh, that person's so more qualified than I am. All that negative trash, which are just lies. It's just crap that we tell ourselves. And the thing that's really sad about it is we would never treat a close friend or a family member with those thoughts. We would never say to them, oh, yeah, you're right. You're never going to reach your goals because you can't stick to anything. Never would we do that. We would always be kind and supportive. So if we do that for others, why don't we do that for ourselves? The next time you catch yourself going down that self-deprecating rabbit hole for whatever reason, just stop, pause, and be curious, not judgmental, but be curious. Why am I feeling this way? What is triggering me? And what can I learn from this? So be kind to yourself. And if you have struggled in the past to form healthy habits, or you know of somebody who has struggled, or just with mindset in general, I encourage you to book a complimentary session. Again, there's no strings attached to this. It's strictly a session where you have an opportunity to share what some of your challenges have been, and let's come up with a plan on how you can move past them to being successful. And lastly, here are my social media links. So obviously we've connected on LinkedIn because you wouldn't be at this webinar, but I also am on YouTube, and there you can check out my TED Talk, which I encourage you. It's only 5 minutes long, and it shows how to manage negative emotions in the moment, particularly stress, by developing mental fitness. So if you have those self-deprecating thoughts that tend to sabotage your behavior and prevent you from being successful, highly encourage you to check that out and learn a little bit about mental fitness. I'm also on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. So with that said, I want to thank you very much for attending. And please go to my email address, which is info@lisahammett.com, and let me know what you think. What do you think? Has this been helpful? I encourage you. So y'all have a very successful day.